John Mica. He's Republican of Florida who chairs the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. We welcome him back to the show. Also, we welcome Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez, Democrat of California and member of the Committee on Homeland Security. Mr. Mica, can we go to a private security as Rand Paul is suggesting, or even more, the Kudlow position? I am sick to death of the whole thing. It's destroying American morale. We're being held hostage by a bunch of serpents and snakes that I think we've already conquered.
Well, I share Rand Paul, Senator Paul's, your frustration, and millions of Americans' frustrations. I think we can and we must do better. And what we need to do is look at keeping government where it should be, and that's in charge of security and not trying to manage a huge bureaucracy and a workforce of screeners. Get them out of the personnel business and into the security business.
You know, Loretta Sanchez, seriously, okay, seriously, I do a lot of traveling down to Washington, D.C. It is disgusting. I have to take my shoes off. I got to walk around, I got to stop, I got to do this, I got to do that. They're frisking the grannies and the kids. This has gone to an extreme. And I just want to know, is this one of these culture of corruption, bureaucratic nightmares of the U.S. government that's out of control, Loretta?
Well, you know, as a member of Congress, I also stand in the same lines. I take off my shoes. I actually usually, if I have time, opt out of the little air puff machine and everything else and actually get patted down because I don't like all the radiation and everything else that I'm subjected to every other time that I go to the airport. But I think it's something that we all realize that there are problems. I know that TSA is looking at its particular policies with respect to changing and to having more frequent flyers be able to move through faster through the lines and everything. But I think privatizing brings up a lot of questions. Prior to the TSA, we had a privatized system. And actually, you know, they were hiring people that didn't even have documents to be in this country. They had just as many problems. They had things being stolen out of bags and things. So, I mean, you know, just because you go to the private sector doesn't necessarily mean that you get it better. Maybe we look at the policies of what TSA says should and should not be
John Mica, do we need this? John, do we truly need this? We have destroyed Al-Qaeda. I know there are bad apples, but there are ways to get at the bad apples as they come without wrecking the entire country's morale. All these crazy stories we have repeatedly. You know, I get them. I got this hip replacement. I don't really feel like having my crotch felt up just because I replaced my hip in 2005. I mean, seriously, do we need this?
No, I don't think you need that kind of a system. And we've tried to get them to switch over to a risk-based system and also go after people, just not things. There are millions of people who don't need that extra scrutiny. And I think there are models around the world. The Israelis, many of the European countries. In fact, the United States now has the all-government model like Bulgaria, Romania, and Poland. It just doesn't make sense to operate the way we are with a big government solution.
Look, first you have to realize that what you're talking about, John, Chairman, is that those are processes. Those are something different than who's doing whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing at those stations. So we can take a look at the processes and what makes sense. Does it make sense to profile more? Does it make sense to take a look at a different way? Does it say that, hey, you know, grandmas or people in wheelchairs shouldn't be treated that way, etc.? But that's a different issue than let's just privatize it and give this system over to a private company.
The federal government should set the regulations, but they shouldn't be doing this. They should be connecting the dots, collecting the security information, and then going after, as a security agency, the people who pose a risk. Instead, everybody's getting shaken down, frisked, and it's an insult. It's
Chairman
an insult
Mica,
to our
can't
veterans.
you give me a card? Can't you give me a card, which I can figure out, like a driver's license? Can't you give me a card and I whisk right through
Four times I've given in legislation, TSA and Homeland Security, the direction to come up with, for example, a transportation worker identification card. They've blown $1 billion. They produce 2 million cards, and they don't even have a reader for the card.
Wow.
Next week and the week after, we're going to do hearings on this mess. It's a mess.
There's been nobody more vocal about TWIC and what it does to workers who go to places like our ports and have to use that. There have been several systems tried with respect to trying to get, you know, somebody that uses
Loretta,
the system a lot.
we already have these.
We've had clear cards, a private
we have these cards
that went
agencies.
under.
I'm sorry.
Now we've got a system from the TSA
House
that they're
members
working
John
on.
Mica and Loretta Sanchez, I'm sorry, we always run out of time. You're both terrific. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
By the way, we have this just in, the CNBC, the Wall Street Journal reporting the Obama administration will soon issue